Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another episode of Commander Cheapskate Gamer Reviews. And this series is dedicated to showing you showcasing products that helps you out in the miniatures wargaming hobby. And on today's episode, we're taking another look at Matthias Eliasson's Warhammer Armies Project for 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy. And today we'll be taking a look at the army book for Estalia, as the nation we'll be looking at for this one. So for those of you guys who are tuning in for the very first time and are not aware about the Warhammer Armies Project, the Warhammer Armies Project is a blogger site that is maintained by Matthias Eliasson. Matthias Eliasson has created a series of rules for 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle because Games Workshop decided to not continue forth with that intellectual property when Age of Sigmar dropped. Now, because of that, unlike Games Workshop, however, Matthias Eliasson has also made a series of unofficial army books that are free to download from his website for factions that never received army books of their own during the history of Warhammer. Countries like Nippon, for example, which is based on ancient Japan, Cathay, which is based on ancient China, Hobgoblins, and in today's episode, Estalia, are some examples of some nations that have army books that was made by Matthias Eliasson, and that is where we'll be viewing today. So we'll be taking a look at Estalia, we'll be looking at its army lists as well as its special rules for its armies, we'll be looking at its bestiary as well as magical systems and magical items, and at the same time take a look at special characters as well. Now, because this video is going to be a little bit more of a deeper dive into the actual product, I will put timestamps down below in the description box, so that way if you want to navigate to a specific area or a specific topic, you can click on that and navigate through the video at your leisure. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a deep dive on the 9th edition rules for Estalia for Warhammer Fantasy Battle 9th edition. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about this free to download PDF from the Warhammer Armies Project about the country of Estalia. Now, once again, I'm just going to applaud Matthias Eliasson's professionalism in his artwork. As you can see, the artwork throughout the book is of a really beautiful quality. It looks very, very professional. In fact, if you didn't know any better, you would have sworn that this product was actually made by Games Workshop. And as you can see here is another example of the artwork that's inside of the book as well, with this beautiful scroll work and border work and desktop publishing as well. Now, for this one, we're not going to actually spend too much time upon the history or the lore of Estalia. If you want to know more about that, you can go ahead and download the product and take a look at yourself. What we'll be focusing primarily on are the soldiers of Estalia. We'll be looking at each of its bestiaries as well as army special rules. We'll take a look at their special characters as well as their magical systems as well as magic items. We'll look at their special characters as well as go over their army lists as well. But just to give you guys an idea of exactly what Estalia is, just to give you guys a rundown, Estalia is supposed to be based on medieval Spain during the time of the Renaissance. In a time period in Spain, there was a period of time known as the Reconquista, is what it was known as. What ended up happening is that the southern half of Spain was controlled by the Moors, which are the North Africans of North Africa who were also Muslims, and they actually invaded during the Middle Ages and actually conquered the southern half of Spain. So for the longest time, you had two Spains. You had Christian Spain that was controlled by the Roman Catholic and the kings of Spain, and you had the southern Spain, which was controlled by the Muslims and the Moors. Now, these two groups, of course, interacted with each other quite often throughout the centuries, and eventually what ended up happening is that northern Spain eventually reconquered southern Spain, hence the term Reconquista. And that's exactly this time period is what this book's supposed to be about, around the Renaissance time period as well. It's also one of the reasons why when Spain started traveling throughout during the Age of Exploration and going throughout Latin and South America, why they were so prepared in order to conquer such huge amounts of territory, because it just got done fighting a massive war in their own country. So a lot of these guys were veterans, a lot of these guys became mercenaries and adventurers in order to find more wealth for themselves. And this is the time period that roughly this book kind of covers. So if you're looking for a historical background of what it's supposed to be like, that's what it is. That's why the names have very much Spanish inspired names as well as culture for these characters. So with that being said, with the little historical background, let's go ahead and talk about Estalia itself. So as you can see, they got pikemen with these beautiful tertios. We'll talk about that here in a second. So army special rules, we have a special rule called Tactical Supremacy. It says any unit that with this rule may roll 3d6 when taking tests to rally, march, reform, and redirect charges and discard the highest result. So we do have Lizardman style leadership for rally, marches, as well as reform and redirecting of charges, which is actually kind of nice. Could really help you guys out for this one as well. And then we have the Tertio formation. So let's talk about that real quick. The Tertio is actually a real life military formation that was actually taken from the Spanish during this this time of the Renaissance, imagine a block of pikemen with close combat fighters in the front as well as the flanks, and then of course flanking it are units of crossbowmen, handgunners, as well as light cavalry. And these tertio formations actually really tore it up during the battlefields of the Renaissance time period, and so that's what we're actually seeing here. It says a unit of pikemen upgraded to aventuros may be combined with models with rodoleros and to deploy in a tertio formation at the start of the game. This will be counted as a single unit for all purposes. The number of rodoleros can range from a minimum of 5 models to a maximum of half the number of aventuros, rounding up. The points cost of any rodoleros count towards the points total of the same unit of aventuros they are purchased with. The rodoleros may not purchase any additional options. The forward ranks of a unit of tertio are always made up of rodoleros, as well as any command group models which have the same equipment, and all rodoleros must be placed as far forward as possible. The subsequent ranks are entirely made up of aventuro pikemen. In combat, all aventuros that are eligible to make supporting attacks can do so as normal. During the game, remove casualties from the back as normal. It is assumed that the pike armed models step forward and discard their pikes to pick up the swords and shields of their fallen front rank fighters. Only when all aventuros have been killed can casualties be taken from the rodoleros. Units of crossbowmen or handgunners within 3 inches of a unit of tertio formation may lend them fire support if the tertio is charged to its front. This works out like a normal standard shoot reaction, except they do not suffer -1 to hit for shooting at a charging enemy. So this is a really cool game mechanic for the Estalians, which will make it really cool to do this, because historically it makes sense. Now, in case you're wondering what rodoleros are, just to give you guys some background information, these guys are kind of like the swordsmen from the Empire. They have +1 to their weapon skill, so they're weapon skill 4 guys, so they're really good at close combat, and they're also supported by pikemen. Now, the cool thing about that is that, as we know, pikes can be fought up to 3 ranks away, so they can provide supporting attacks with their pikes, and also provide you additional bonuses against monstrous cavalry, monsters infantry, war beasts, all the cavalry, all those kind of things. So this is actually a very good formation to use. Not to mention, you could also flank them with handgunners or crossbowmen, and they can also do support fire just like a detachment of handgunners and crossbowmen from the Empire. Except unlike the Empire, these guys don't suffer the -1 to hit against, which is really cool. Just to give you guys some more ideas about Estalia, in case if you guys notice, a lot of the armies that we've gone over have been really lightly armored for the most part, with not very many shooting options. Estalia is the opposite. They have a lot of armor options for their units. They also have a lot of shooting variety of shooting attacks that they could also upgrade their troops to as well. We'll talk about that as we go through the army lists. So very cool. I've been liking that aspect of it because historically that's also very cool too. So next up we have our commanders. Of course, these are our grand commanders as well as our captains, which are your general and hero captain, lord and hero choices as well. They have movement 4, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 5, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 6 initiative, 4 attacks, and 9 leadership. The captains got 4 movement, 5 weapon skill, and ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 5 initiative, 3 attacks, as well as 8 leadership, and they come with a tactical supremacy special rule as well. Then we have Inquisitors, which are actually kind of neat. You have 2 types. You have the High Inquisitor as well as the local Hero Inquisitor. High Inquisitor's got movement 4, weapon skill 5, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 5 initiative, 3 attacks, 9 leadership. Inquisitors got 4 movement, 4 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 4 initiative, 2 attacks, and 8 leadership. They come with a tactical supremacy ability as well as magical attacks, and they have magic resistance too. And they have the special rule, Burn the Heretic. The Inquisitor's passion prayers fill his fellows with righteous fury. The Inquisitor and any unit joined by him is subject to hatred, which is a nice bonus. In addition, when fighting wizards, undead, chaos, or skaven, you may reroll all failed rules to wound, which is kind of cool as well. So like I said, these guys are supposed to be based on the Spanish Inquisitors from the time of the Spanish Inquisition. Unfortunately, the Spanish Inquisition was actually much more dark and also much more sinister in real life than it is presented here in the books. In this book, it's actually more like a heroic order where they try to stop evildoers and try to do good. But unfortunately, in real life, the Spanish Inquisition was quite horrible. Like I said before, once they reconquered Spain, the Inquisition was pretty much set up to take out anybody who spoke out against the reconquest of Spain. People who were of different religion, or Roman Catholic, for example, were often persecuted against. Many of them tortured, killed, and had their possessions stolen, which is a really horrible time period. But like I said, in this setting, they're a little bit different. They're considered more heroic than the real life Inquisition, so we'll continue on with that. After that, we have Battle Magi. Battle Magi are your magical magic users for this game as well. So let's talk about these guys. So you have the Eminent Magus, which is has movement skill 4, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, and strength, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 3 initiative, 1 attack, and 8 leadership. And the Battle Magus, which is the heroic version, has pretty much the same stats except 1 less wound, 1 less leadership, and 1 less toughness. They are Battle Mages as a wizard who uses spells from the lore of fire, metal, life, light, or lore of heavens. And then they have this rule: restricted practice. Due to the suspicious nature of the Inquisitors, the practitioners of magic are heavily supervised at Estalia. Because of this, your army may never contain more Battle Magi than Inquisitors. So, for example, if you want a Lord level Magus and a Hero level Magus, you'll need to have a Hero level Inquisitor and a Lord level Inquisitor as well, which is kind of an interesting game mechanic, but given the background of what the Inquisition's all about, makes perfect sense. Then we have the Priestess of Myrmidia. So let's talk about her real quick. She's got movement 4, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, strength and toughness 4, 2 wounds, 4 initiative, 2 attacks, 8 leadership. She's got the tactical supremacy rule as well as blessings of Myrmidia. The priestess is said to have been keen insight on Myrmidia herself. The priestess and any unit she is with will always strike first rule in the first round of combat, which is a kind of a cool thing to have for a hero level character. She has divine power. Priestesses of Myrmidia may channel power and dispel dice the same manner as wizards. We also have prayers of Myrmidia. Priestesses of Myrmidia know 3 prayers listed below. Prayers of Myrmidia are innate bound spells, power level 3. Prayers that are augment spells that target the priestess of Myrmidia and her unit. We have Command the Legion. The priestess prays to Myrmidia to lend her strength and to her words, and to shout about her orders. The priestess gains the Inspiring Presence special rule and remains in play. We have Shield of Myrmidia. The priestess blesses her allies with Myrmidia's protection. The priest and her unit add +1 to the armor saves and gain the ward save 5-up roll against missile attacks and remains in play. And the Spear of Myrmidia. The priestess's weapon becomes infused with the power of Myrmidia. The priestess and her unit gains +1 strength, armor piercing 1, and magical attack special rules and remains in play. This is really cool, I'm not going to lie. A lot of these prayers are really powerful. They give you really good effects. You should definitely take one in your army. And then we have the Altar of Myrmidia. It is an altar that is pulled by 2 bulls. It's got strength of 4, toughness 5, 5 wounds. You got a bull with movement of 7, 3 weapon skill, 4 strength, 3 initiative, 1 attack. It's got a 4 ward save. And it says an altar Myrmidia may join units despite being a chariot. It acts as the army's battle standard bearer, and any unit joined by the altar is stubborn for as long as it is in the unit. So very cool war altar type thing that you can have for your army as well. The fact that they give stubborn is also pretty cool too. Then we have the Diestro. So let's talk about this character. It's a hero character. You got movement 4, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 5, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 6 initiative, 3 attack, 7 leadership. They have the special rules: Face Me, You Coward. A Diestro must always issue and accept challenges. And then they have the dueling technique special rule. At the start of each round of close combat, the Diestro may choose to utilize one of the following dueling techniques. He may not use the same techniques 2 rounds in a row. We have Rapido, which means that the Diestro gains the always strike first special rule. Defensa, the Diestro gains the parry 4+ rule. And Perforacion, which means that the Diestro gains a killing blow special rule as well. Now, if you guys want to know what these Diestros are about, in Renaissance Spain, it was actually not uncommon for noblemen, if they wanted to fight in duels, to actually recruit and hire duelists to fight for them. As crazy as that may sound, a lot of nobles in Spain, like if they would challenge each other to duels, they would often hire duelists to fight in their place, and that is what a Diestro is supposed to represent in this situation as well. In fact, there's actually a series of Spanish novels called the Captain Alatrista series, where the main character is a duelist like this, and he's also a mercenary and travels about the adventures that he actually goes against, which is actually kind of cool, actually. So then we have pikemen. These are your typical light infantry fighters. Your pikemen got movement 4, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 movement, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. The sergeants pretty much the same, except they have 1 additional attack. However, unless you equip them to be aventuros, which basically means adventurer, they have 1 additional weapon skill, 1 additional point for initiative as well, and then the sergeants got 1 additional weapon skill and 1 additional initiative as well. They have the tactical supremacy as well as a tertio formation special rule that they can use that as well. So very cool there. Oops, sorry about that. Then we have what are called the Rodeleros. Rodeleros have movement 4, weapon skill 4, 3 strength and toughness, and ballistic skill 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. The Espadance, I believe is how you pronounce that. He's got 2 attacks. They got the tactical supremacy and tertio formation. So these are the guys that we're talking about for those tertio builds. You could have up to 2 ranks of Rodeleros that make up half of the unit. So these guys are your close combat fighters. And then of course you have pikemen in support, and that's where you get that mixed formation from. After that, we have crossbowmen, as well as handgunners that are both exactly the same. Movement, weapon skill, movement 4, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness of 3, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. Their champion only has 1 additional ballistic skill. Both have tactical supremacy, and both have tertiary formations. And of course, the only difference between them is what they use. One unit uses crossbowmen, the other unit uses handgunners, and that's the only difference between them, which is actually kind of cool. These guys could also flank your tertios and blocks of pikemen in order to, give that support fire special, which is kind of nice. Crossbows are nicer because they have longer range at 30 inches as opposed to handguns at 24, but handgunners also have armor piercing as well. So it kind of depends on what your situation is and what you'll be facing. My opinion, get one of each, get the best of both worlds. Now from there we have Caballeros. Caballeros are basically your cavalry choices here. They have movement 4, weapon skill 4, 3 ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The knight has got 1 additional attack as well, and they're mounted on war horses. These are your cavalry options, your heavy cavalry options as well. They also have tactical supremacy, so these guys are pretty cool too. And the cool thing about these guys, they can also pack pistols. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the army list. So 1 additional attack in close combat, strength 4, not bad actually. Then we have Genitors. Genitors are basically your light cavalry options. They have movement 4, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. The Outriders got 1 additional ballistic skill. They are also mounted on war horses. They have tactical supremacy as well as fast cav rules. So these are your typical fast cav light cavalry guys that you have in every army. Then we have the Almogavars. The Almogavars are basically skirmishers. That's what they are. Just your typical infantry. 4 movement, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. The raid leader has 1 additional ballistic skill. So these are your typical core skirmisher types that you have for your army as well. Good for screening and defending your handgunners and your crossbowmen from being charged at, for example, would be what these guys are really good for. Then we have Marines. So Marines are exactly what they sound like. These guys are movement 4, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness of 3, 1 attack, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 7 leadership. The Marine started as 1 additional ballistic skill. These guys also have the tactical supremacy as well as the ambusher special rules. So these guys are supposed to be like used to doing boarding actions like Marines back in the old days, tied to the sea. The nice thing about these guys are ambushers, so that's kind of a nice way to attack an enemy exposed flank or even from behind, which is actually kind of cool with those guys. Then we have Royal Guard. The Royal Guard are actually modeled after French musketeers, and we'll talk about that here in a second. So you have the Royal Guard. Yeah, movement 4, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The Guard captains got the exact same stats except for 1 additional attack. They have tactical supremacy as well as immunity to panic, and they are stoic. Guards do not suffer -1 to hit for shooting at charging enemies because they are equipped with muskets. Now, muskets at this time period were a little bit different than muskets that most people associate with the British military. Muskets during this olden time period were actually mounted on tripods and bipods at one time, and they were actually more like miniature cannons that fired multiple shot at one time. So the French bodyguard, for example, for the French kings were called musketeers because they used swords, yes, but they primarily used guns is primarily what they used for. And that's what these guys are supposed to be attached there. So the musket's got a 30-inch range, strength 4, move or fire, armor piercing 1. So they're a little bit more powerful than the normal handguns were because that's how muskets actually were back in the olden days. They were smoothbore miniature cannons for the most part. Then we have Conquistadors. Conquistadors are movement 4, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The captains got the exact same stats but 1 additional attack, and they're mounted on war horses. They are also cavalry with tactical supremacy, and they have the special rule Fusillade. Conquistadors may attack with their pistols as they close into battle with the enemy, giving them an extra strength for attack with armor piercing 1 special rule in the first round of each combat, even while mounted. In addition, such is their skill that they may move and fire with their handguns. So yes, the Conquistador, infamous throughout history for conquering large sections of South America and Latin America as well for the Spaniards during the Age of Exploration. So they're exactly the same thing. These guys are heavy cavalry, so they have heavy armor and they have handguns, and they can shoot their handguns and pistols while on the move. So like I said, a lot of armor options in a Estalian army, as well as shooting weapons, especially with guns, which is actually kind of cool. Then we have Grenadiers. So let's talk about these guys. So these guys have movement 4, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. They have tactical supremacy and they are skirmishers and they are equipped with grenades. 6-inch range, strength 4, quick to fire, armor piercing, fragmentation explosive, Each hit with a grenade is multiplied into D6 hits. Against skirmishers and single characters on foot, it costs D3 hits. However, if a 1 is rolled when rolling to hit, the Grenadier suffers a strength 4 armor-piercing 1 hit himself instead. So yes, at one time you used to have guys called Grenadiers. Grenadiers back in history, though, were a little bit different. Usually they were much taller and stronger than average people during this time period because they had to be big enough to lob their grenades towards their enemies. So in fact, you have a lot of units even in Europe today who are named after Grenadiers, like Grenadier Guards, for example, in England with one of its regiments, for example. Then we have Mountain Bandits. These guys are your typical skirmishing, scouting, light cavalry. They have movement 4, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 6 leadership. The bandit leader has exactly the same stats except for 1 additional ballistic skill. They are skirmishers and scouts, and they're also hill striders. And mountain bandits may make a free normal move, but not march, after firing in the shooting phase. This counts as moving as well as shooting. So these are your guerrillas, or guerrillas, back known as today. These are the guys who actually used to pop up the mountains and hills surrounding Spain, actually saved that country from Napoleon during the Napoleonic Wars. But we'll talk about those guys more later. Now we have our knightly orders. Now we have 2 knightly orders, the Knights of the Righteous Spear, as well as Knights of the Blazing Sun. For those of you guys who are OG players of Warhammer Fantasy, you'll remember the Knights of the Blazing Sun for Warhammer Fantasy. So let's go and talk about the Knights of the Righteous Spear. They have movement 4, weapon skill 4, 3 ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The Preceptor, which their champion has 1 additional attack. They are cavalry with tactical supremacy, the Righteous Charge. The Knights of the Righteous Spear have honed their skills to deliver a decisive blow on the charge against their foes. Whenever a unit of them charge, they may reroll failed to wound rolls. At the same time, it should be noted these guys can also be integrated to Inner Circle Knights. They will become rare choices if you do, but they have +1 strength. Then we have the Knights of the Blazing Sun, which are actually kind of cool in this edition because in previous editions they were just knights that fought in Estalia, is all we had from them. They didn't really separate them all that much from normal knights in Warhammer Fantasy, but these guys are a little bit different. So just like their Righteous Spear counterparts, they have exactly the same stats, and just like their Righteous Spear counterparts, they can be upgraded to Inner Circle Knights for +1 strength. They become rare choices. They have cavalry and tactical supremacy, but here's where their difference comes in. They have the Blinding Light skill. As is, whenever the knights declare a charge, roll a d6. A roll of 1 means there is no sun, it's raining or overcast, and so the blinding light cannot be used in this charge. On a 2+, however, there is enough sunlight for the knights to dazzle their enemies as they charge. The enemy unit being charged are at a -1 weapon skill and ballistic skill for the duration of the turn. So kind of cool, kind of handicaps your opponents when you charge into them, allowing you to get more hits against your enemies, which is kind of neat. It's kind of like that scene out of Lord of the Rings where the Rohirrim flank those guys at the Battle of Helm's Deep and the sun partially blinds them, so that's why they get tore up, which is kind of cool. And then we have the Sisters of Fury, another special unit. Now this unit's kind of cool. It's got movement 4, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The Sister Superior, it's got the exact same stats but 1 additional attack. They are infantry with tactical supremacy and fight an extra rank special rule. And Myrmidia's Adepts, the Sisters of Fury, are incredibly skilled at fighting with their spears. They have always strike first in the first round of combat. Now, normally you might be thinking, well, who cares, right? Why was this so cool? The reason why is because these characters have heavy armor, which is actually kind of cool. So a little bit more survivable than the more elite units we've been seeing up to this point. Then we have the Black Watchmen. These guys are a movement 4, weapon skill 4, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength, 3 toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The Watch Captain has pretty much the exact same stats, except for 1 additional attack. They are infantry with tactical supremacy, but they're also stubborn, and they have hatred of undead. They're also immune to fear as well as terror. These guys are also equipped with halberds as well as heavy armor as well, so it makes them extremely deadly. Really cool elite unit choices to use for this army. So the Black Watchmen are actually really, really cool as well. And then, of course, we have our weapons. We have the Culverin. The Culverin is basically just a cannon, great cannon, just your typical great cannon. And then we have the Mountain Gun. The Mountain Gun is basically a smaller cannon that can be traveled up by horse and pulled up in the mountains and stuff. It's got the exact same stats as a regular cannon except for the shooting aspect. It's got a small caliber. It's got only a 36-inch range, strength 7, slow to fire on multiple wounds D3, or they can shoot scatter shot. They could do scatter. If they do so, it's 12-inch range, strength 4, slow to fire with 2d6 multiple shots, armor piercing. So not as powerful as the grape shot and the normal shot from a Culverin, which is a great cannon, but at the same time, though, it doesn't cost as many points and can still pack a wallop, which is actually kind of cool. So then we come to the last of the most interesting units that we have here. These guys are called Fire Bulls. Now, this unit is actually kind of neat. A Fire Bull is a combination of handlers, which are cavalry, as well as war beasts, which are your bulls. The bull has a movement of 7, 3 weapon skill, 4 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership. The herders themselves are movement 4, 3 weapon skill, 3 ballista skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership, and of course, they're mounted on horses. Basically, this is how the rule works. Basically, imagine setting bulls on fire, and these bulls, because they're on fire, charge forward and they trample whatever's in their way. They kind of act like fanatics from goblins. So let's talk about these real quick. So it says, the herders may light the bulls at the start of the movement phase. When the bulls are released, you may then choose any direction in which it travels and the point on the conceding unit from which it starts. Fire bulls move 3d6 inches using the rules for random movement. After release, the Fire Bulls have the immunity to Psychology special rule and treated as individual units from their herders. In your subsequent turns, they move in the compulsory movement subphase using the random movement special rule, but they always move in a random direction. If the Fire Bulls move and bring them into contact with another unit, then they must move through rather than stop. If the Fire Bulls would end within a unit, then they automatically move through it, place the Fire Bulls 1 inch beyond the unit in the direction that they were moving. When a unit of Fire Bulls moves through a unit, friend or foe, each bull inflicts Strength 5 hit with Flaming Attack special rule. Any unit that moves into contact with the front arc of a unit of Fire Bulls suffers Strength 5 hit for each Fire Bull and base contact. These are resolved like impact hits in close combat phase if the Fire Bull are charged or immediately in the case a unit flees through them. When suffering casualties from shooting or magic, the herders follow the rules for allocating hits on unit champions. If the herders are killed before they have released the bulls simply wander and are removed as casualties. Herders never count for the purposes of victory points. So these guys are pretty cool. Like, so for example, if you're facing a huge unit of trolls or a unit that is flammable, then you can send these guys right through them. They act like fanatics, so they just keep on going and they're randomly where they're going at. Good way to lock down a flank, also to harass your enemies as well. After that, we have War Dogs. These are just your typical war beasts. Movement 7, 3 weapon skill, ballista skill 0, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership. Cool thing about these guys, they have Vanguard, which is kind of cool. Then of course we have our Pegasus. 8 movement, 3 weapon skill, 0 ballista skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 4 initiative, 2 attack, 6 leadership, and they can fly. Typical hero or lord mounted option. Then we also have Griffins, which were also very popular for the Empire. But unlike the Empire, they don't have upgrades though. They're just your typical Griffins with 6 movement, 5 weapon skill, 0 ballista skill, 5 strength and toughness, 4 wounds, 5 initiative, 4 attack, 7 leadership, and they can fly. So nothing special there for that monster. So now that we're done talking about the units, next up we're going to talk about the special characters for the Army of Estalia. Alright, so now we're back with the special characters. We have Isabella Giovanna Lucelli as her name. She's La Aquila Ultima, which is basically the ultimate eagle, head of the Order of the Eagle. So she's like basically the main leader of the Estalians. So she's got 4 movement, 5 weapon skill and ballista skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 6 in initiative, 4 attacks, 9 leadership. She has the tactical supremacy ability. She can also fly because she is a mixture of winged fighter, like an angel kind of. She's got blessings of Meridia, divine power, prayers of Meridia as well. She's a living saint, Isabella, and all friendly users within 12 inches of her have immunity to psychology special rules. In addition, she may reroll the casting result when using her prayers, so there's a combination of both of those. She has a Sacred Sword of Vengeance, which is a magic weapon. Enemies in base contact with the wielder suffer -1 to hit in close combat. In addition, attacks with this blade have the Ignore Armor save special rule. She has the Blessed Cuirass Heavy Armor. The wearer gains a ward save of 4+ rule against mundane attacks, which may be rerolled. So very, very cool there. And she has the Light of Myrmidia. Enemies must reroll successful rolls to hit with missile weapons against Isabella. So very, very powerful there. The ability that she could actually use those prayers, as well as some of the more divine powers from the Inquisitors, makes her very, very powerful as well. Her weapon could be a little bit better in my opinion, but still, overall, pretty cool character. Then we have Juan Federico El Líder Glorioso, Grand Master of the Order of the Righteous Spear. He's got movement 4, 6 weapon skill, 5 ballista skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 6 initiative, 4 attacks, 9 leadership. He is mounted on a warhorse. He's got tactical supremacy, hatred, stubborn, as well as righteous charge, which is kind of cool. He's also got the Grand Master special rule. As Grand Master of the Righteous Spear, Juan Federico has immunity to psychology, and so any unit he joins as long as he remains with it. He's got the Sword of Retribution. The sword gives the wielder +1 to his strength, which gives him strength 5, and the flaming attacks and multiple wounds D3 special rules. So very cool to use against flammable enemies or enemies with regen. Armor of Virtue, which is magic armor, full plate armor. The wearer and any unit he leads may roll 3d6 when taking break tests. So, got that beautiful leadership boost like the Lizardmen have, as well as the Empire does as well. And then we have the Eagle of Meridia Talisman. The Eagle of Meridia gives Juan Federico the immunity to multiple wounds and killing blows special rule. So very powerful there. Then we have Santiago de Vivar. Now, Santiago de Vivar is the champion of Estalia, Scourge of Araby. Now, this guy is actually based on a real historical figure, if I remember correctly. Saint Santiago, I believe his name. Augustine Santiago, I believe is the name of the guy. He actually fought during the time of the Reconquista in Spain, and if I remember correctly, he was also the plot device used in Sharp's Rifles, which is a historical fiction story about the Napoleonic War in Spain. Basically, the idea was supposed to be that if they flew this special flag whenever invaders would come, Saint Santiago, Augustus of Santiago himself would arrive and slaughter anybody who was standing in his way, if I remember correctly from the myth. So it's kind of cool. That's kind of neat how Matthias Eliasson ties into a lot of the history of Europe in these armies. So Santiago de Vivar has got movement 4, 7 weapon skill, 5 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 6 initiative, 5 attacks, 9 leadership. He's also mounted on his special warhorse Babeka, I believe is how I pronounce that name. Pretty much the same stats as a warhorse. He's got tactical supremacy and champion of Estalia. Each wound caused by Santiago in combat counts as D3 wounds for the purpose of combat resolution. He has Tizona and Colada, his 2 magical swords. Santiago may re-roll failed rolls to hit and to wound. In addition, these swords cause fear against foes with a basic leadership lower than his. So very cool, makes it very, very easy for you to hit your enemies. And he's got armor of the champion, heavy armor. All successful to wound rolls against the wearer must be re-rolled. So very cool there. Then we have Grand Inquisitor de Hojeda, head of the Tribunal of the Inquisition. Like I said, this character is much more tame than the real-life Inquisitions. The real-life Inquisition guys were pretty fierce. They were known for torture and murder and all kinds of horrible things. But this guy is not so bad. De Hojeda has got movement 4, 5 weapon skill and ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 5 initiative, 3 attacks, 9 leadership. He has tactical supremacy, magical attacks, as well as magic resistance 2, as well as burn the heretic special rule. He wears sacred armor. This armor provides a 2-up armor save and war save is 6-up. And at the same time, he's got the Book of Wisdom. It's an enchanted item. Bound spell, level power, level 5. The Book of Wisdom contains a random spell from the Lore of Light each turn. Roll a d6 before casting. Determine each spell. So, kind of interesting. Kind of interesting character. Then you have Francisco Cortez, Conqueror of the New World. Obviously, he is based on infamous Hernando Cortez, the guy who brought down Tenochtitlan for the Aztecs. He's got movement 4, 5 weapon skill and ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 5 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. He's got the tactical supremacy as well as fusillade skills. He is Conquistador Commander. If Cortez is in your army, you may take units on Conquistadors as core choices instead of special. In addition, all Conquistador units may use his leadership just if he was the army's general. It's a very powerful ability there. He's got the Rapier of Quietude, which is a magic weapon. All attacks made by this blade have the armor piercing 3 and parry 6-up special rules. And then with the Amulet of Pahuz, I believe is how I pronounced that. The amulet gives Cortez the regeneration 4-up special rule as well. Then we have Don Lomente, Insane Gentleman Knight. He's supposed to be based on Don Quixote of the Cervantes, I believe is who wrote that book. Also, if I remember correctly, I believe it's the world's first novel from Europe, the first European novel as well. So Don Lomente, he's got movement 4, weapon skill 3, 2 ballistic skill, 3 strength, 4 toughness, 2 wounds, 3 initiative, 2 attacks, 9 leadership. He has his horse, which has got movement 7, and also a little bit lesser than a normal horse. He's got the Unbreakable special rules, so if he joins a unit, that makes that unit unbreakable as well. He's got a war save of 3-up, and he's got Insane. So let's talk about this. It says, Don Lomente may never be the army's general. To determine what Don Lomente will do, roll a d6 at the start of the move phase and consult the following chart. On 1, he's befuddled with images that he is seeing. Don Lomente moves in the random direction using the random movement 2d6 inches special rule. He will stop within 1 inch of a friendly unit. Roll of 2 means he's confused by the conflicting images in his head. The Mad King stops and put around in a befuddled state. Don Lomente is so confused that he will not attack, even if he himself is attacked. On a 3, still confused, but less so. Don Lamente's grip on reality is somewhat better now. He will still will not move, but may attack anyone who attacks him. On a 4 to 5, seized by delusions of heroic do-daring, Don Lamente launches himself straight forward using the random movement 3d 6 inches special rule. If he comes into base contact with a forest or building, he will immediately stop to fight that as well, but will respond to attacks made by another source as normal. And then 6, the Mad King has a sudden moment of clarity and moves as the controlling player wishes. So not good, considering only 1/6 chance of actually him doing what he wanted to do. So I don't know. I have to look at his point value to see if he's actually worth it or not. So this is, by the way, interesting character based on Don Quixote of legend. Then we have Alonso Diaz de Marajo, captain of Estalia, Diestro Extraordinero. So I believe this character is actually based on the Captain Alatrista character I was talking about earlier. There's a series of novels, Spanish novels, about Captain Alatrista, who's a duelist and also a mercenary who goes throughout Spanish history. And I think that's who this guy is based off of. So Alonso's got a movement 4, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 5, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 6 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. He's got tactical supremacy, face me, you coward special rules, well, dueling techniques. He's got a beloved captain. Any unit joined by Alonso be roll failed psychology test. Yeah, he's definitely based on Captain Alatrista. Interesting fact about Captain Alatrista, by the way, if you're a fan of foreign film, especially Spanish films, Viggo Mortensen actually made a film about Captain Alatrista, and he actually plays the character as well. Cinematically, it's a very beautiful movie. Every single frame in that film looks like a Rembrandt painting. But anyways, continuing on. You got Sword of the Duelist. For every attack that misses Alonso in close combat, you may immediately make an attack back at that model. So, very cool. They have Maria de Salvo, Sister Assassin of the Order of the Eagle. I'm not sure who she's supposed to be based on, but let's talk about her. She's Maria de Salvo's got movement 4, 8 weapon skill, 6 ballistic skill, 4 strength, 3 toughness, 2 wounds, 7 initiative, 3 attacks, 9 leadership. She's got tactical supremacy, immunity to psychology, and hidden special rule. She's got Mark of Death. Secretly nominate one enemy character to be Maria's chosen target. Against this character, she has a killing blow special rule. Then with the Eradicators, the magic weapon, paired weapon. The Eradicators give Maria the always strike first, poison attack, and armor piercing 1 special rule, and Seal of Myrmidia. This seal gives Maria the ward save 2+ special rule against magical attacks. Very, very cool. Looks like she kills evil necromancers. Looks like a killer nun type character. Pretty cool. So now that we're done talking about these special characters, next thing we're going to talk about now are magic as well as magic items. Alright, so now we're back with magic and magic items. So we have inquisitorial powers. The Inquisitors of Estalia are well versed in fighting the forces of evil, and as such have developed special holy powers to battle them. Each power may be used once per turn. Unless specified, inquisitorial powers are not magic items, and as such cannot be destroyed by any source. So we have this special rule, Her Will Be Done, 50 points. Manifestation of Myrmidia's Divine Will. Every unsaved wound inflicted by the Inquisitor in close combat counts as 2 for the purposes of combat resolution. So very cool there. We have Holocaust for 35 points. Bound spell, power level 5. Place a small round template anywhere in base contact with the Inquisitors. All models, friends or foe, covered by the template suffer strength 4 hit. Against demons, undead, and wizards, the strength is increased to 5 up. Pretty pricey for one-use items, but once per turn. Oh, never mind. So yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Can't really be bad at that. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Holocaust is actually, I believe it's a Greek word, I believe. Holocaust basically means death by fire, is what that means. Then we have Sanctuary, which is 35 points. It says bound level spell, power level 3 remains in play. While active, demons undead cannot move within 3 inches of the Inquisitor or his unit. That could be really cool against undead, really stop them from actually plaguing you, which is kind of neat. They have the Scourging, 25 points, bound spell, power level 3. Scourging is a magic missile with a range of 18 inches that causes D6 strength 5 hits. Very cool there. For 25 points, that's not bad. That's kind of like the Ruby Ring of Ruin. Then we have the Mace of Sacrifice, magic weapon at 50 points. The bearer gains +2 to strength and always strike first special rule. Kind of nice, actually. At the end of each close combat phase of which the wielder takes part, roll D6. On a 5 up, the wielder takes a wound, which cannot be saved by any means. Of course you would have that, because it goes into the whole idea of martyrdom and stigmata and all that kind of stuff. Then we have Divine Pronouncement for 25 points. Balance spell, power level 3. Target one enemy unit within 18 inches which is not in close combat in the shooting phase. This unit must immediately take a panic test. If the Inquisitor's leadership is greater than that of the enemy unit, the test is modified by the difference. Whoa. That's kind of cool. I can see that definitely being helpful in a panic test. For 25 points, that's not bad. Might of the Goddess, 20 points. Bound spell, power level 4. Might of the Goddess doubles the basic strength of the user until the start of his next turn, but may not use any magic weapons while the Might of the Goddess is in effect. Not bad for 20 points, actually. Considering the guys are like, what? Strength 4 normally? If you can give them like a great weapon or a halberd, that could definitely be really useful. Then we have Sword of the Witches at 20 points. Bound spell, power level 4. All enemy wizards within 18 inches must pass a leadership test or take d6 strength 4 hits as the divine purity of Myrmidia consumes them. That's a nice little power ability to have too, especially against necromancers or any wizard for that matter. Wizards are not known for their leadership, so that could really prove powerful. Then we have Purge for 15 points. Bound spell, power level 3. Target one enemy model within 24 inches of the Inquisitor that is within his line of sight. Both players roll a d6 at their leadership of their respective models. If the Inquisitor scores higher than the target model, the target leadership is reduced by 3 until the start of the Inquisitor's next magic phase. Kind of cool, I can see that, but any line of sight, one enemy. Okay, so I guess it could be any minute. Oh, so like generals, for example. That'd be really good to use against generals. Then we have Word of Myrmidia for 10 points. All enemy units attempting to charge the Inquisitor or his unit must pass a leadership test. If they fail, they may not charge that turn. Oh, I can see that being used in tandem with this Purge ability. You take out the leadership to 3, they can't charge forward. You can rattle in the bullets and crossbow bolts. Very, very cool. Then we have Relics of Estalia. Alright, so we have Wolf Slayer for 65 points. This sword gives the wearer a heroic killing blow. Pretty cool. In addition, any enemy models who are hit by this sword must pass leadership tests or suffer an additional automatic wound. Pretty cool there too. However, if the wearer of the sword flees for any reason, he suffers 1 wound himself with no armor saves allowed. Kind of steep for 65 points, but I can see that. Heroic killing blow would automatically be a 50 plus. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I dig it. Then we have Pistols of the Duel for 30 points. Brace of pistols. These pistols use the following profile: 15-inch range, 4 strength, armor piercing, quick to fire, multiple shots 4. Well, that's pretty good. In the first round of combat, the wearer fights with the strength 4, attacks 4, and armor piercing special rule. And subsequent combat turns, the pistols count as 2 hand weapons. That's pretty cool for 30 points. I get that. Then we have the Sword of Vendetta for 50 points. Before the game, the wielder of the sword may choose one enemy character on the table. The wielder must always issue and accept challenges against this character if possible. The wielder of the sword hits and wounds the chosen enemy on a 2+ with no armor saves allowed. Pretty cool there. If the enemy is killed by this weapon, the wielder then suffers minus D3 to his strength and toughness, and the sword counts as a normal magical hand weapon for the remainder of the game. That is not so cool. For 50 points, not worth it. Unless, of course, you get a really cheap hero who can use it, but still. Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence about that one. Then we have Scintillating Shield for 40 points. All attacks targeting the bearer suffer -1 to hit. Pretty cool. The bearer can also make a parry save with this shield, even if mounted. Very cool. For every enemy attack that the bearer saves in close combat, one enemy model in base contact suffers -1 to his weapon skill until the end of the next combat phase. This effect is cumulative. Pretty cool. I don't know if it's 40 points cool, but still pretty cool, all things considered. Then we have the Cape of Vela Cruz for 25 points. War Beasts, Monstrous Infantry, Monstrous Beasts, and Monsters must be rolled all successful rolls to hit against the wearer of this cape. In addition, the wearer is immune to the effects of impact hits and stomp attacks. Okay, cool. So this is like for bullfighters. This is like for Matador. I can just imagine a Matador right up there for 25 points, luring monsters all over the battlefield. That's kind of cool. You put this on a character like mount on a Pegasus or something, that'd be kind of neat to do. I know, distract the monster, that'd be kind of cool. Then we have the Standard of Myrmidia for 75 points. Each time this unit carrying this banner destroys or breaks an enemy unit, they gain one of the following bonuses for as long as the banner remains in the unit. For 1 unit, they get +1 weapon skill. For 2 units, they gain +1 strength. And for 3 units, they get +1 attack. Pretty cool. 75 points though. Kind of pricey, but I can still see this being viable. Yeah. I can dig that. Then we have Crown of Bali, which is 60 points. Enchanted item granting commanders only. The crown gives the wearer +1 to his leadership. In addition, all friendly units within 8 inches of him gains +1 to their combat +1 to their combat resolution. Yeah, that's definitely worth 60 points. I can see that. That's not bad. Then we have Banner of Santiago for 50 points. The unit carrying this standard counts as rolling double ones on their first break test. After this, the banner has no further special effect for the remainder of the game. That's kind of steep for 50 points. I would skip that. Then we have the Staff of Thomas the Pure for 50 points. Enchanted item is Inquisitor only. The staff can deliver the Retribution of Myrmidia in the shooting phase using the following profile: 24-inch range, strength 5, quick to fire, multiple shots D3. The wielder does not suffer any penalties for multiple shots or shooting at long range. No armor saves are allowed against hits from the staff. Pretty powerful, but for 50 points though, you're pretty much just better off just getting that spell. This, what is it? Is it Scourging? Yeah, for 25 points, you can pretty much do the same thing for 25 points though. Oh well, pretty cool. So that pretty much makes it the magic as well as magic items for this army. So now what we'll do now is take a look at the Estalian army list. And so we'll talk about that next. Alright, so now let's go over the army list for Estalia with their point value. So for Isabella Giovanna Lucelli, which is that special character, she costs 390 points. It's a small price to pay for giving out mass immune psychology, so not so bad. Juan Federico was leader of the Righteous Spear, cost 320 points for him. Santiago de Vivar is 275 points for him, and Grand Inquisitor de Ojeda costs 205 points, but he can take Inquisitor powers up to a total of 100 points. So that actually might be worth it for that character. Pretty cool there. They have Grand Commanders, which are generals for 90 points. They can take lances, additional hand weapons, great weapons, or pistols. They can take handguns and crossbows as well. They carry a shield. They can upgrade their medium armor. Finally, we're starting to see an army that has better armor options. We have heavy armor as well as full plate armor. They can mount on a horse with barding, a griffin, a pegasus, and take 100 points of magic items. Very, very cool. I finally dig it. Our High Inquisitors cost 120 points. They come with light weapons, a hand weapon that was light armor. They can be armed with a flail for 6 points. They can upgrade to medium armor for 3 points, not bad. And they can take magic items and or Inquisitor powers up to a total of 100 points. Very, very cool there too. Then we have our Eminent Mages, which is our Battle Wizards at level 4. Cost 165 points. 35 points upgrade to level 4. They can be mounted on a Barded Warhorse or a Pegasus, taking magic items up to 100 points. I can actually see using Pegasus for this one, so that way they can get around and start dropping bombs like fire, metal, and light on enemies, or heavens even for that matter, which would be kind of cool. Then we have our heroes. Francisco Cortez costs 135 points, maybe mount on a warhorse for 12 points. Yeah, he's definitely worth it for the 135 points. I took a look at the Conquistadors, and making those guys core would be all kinds of awesome. Worth the 135 points in my opinion. Then Don Lamonte, who is the Don Quixote inspired character, costs 130 points. It comes with a lance, heavy armor, and shield. I would skip. I don't think he's actually worth the points. Then we have Alonso Diaz de Marajo, which is the characters based on Captain Alatriste, the duelist character, at 125 points. Kind of steep, but I can see him being used as a character assassin, I guess. And Maria de Salvo costs 175 points. Kind of pricey for what she does too. So Francisco Cortez seems like the best choice so far. For our heroes, Rover Captains cost 50 points. They can be upgraded to Battle Standard Bearers for 25. They can take lances, additional hand weapons, great weapons and pistols, handguns and crossbows, and shields. They can also take heavy armor or full plate armor. Can be mounted on Barded Warhorses or Pegasus. And it can also take 50 points of magic items. So very cool there. The Diestro, which is our duelist, costs 75 points. They can take with one of the following: additional hand weapon, or a buckler, or a pistol, or a brace of pistols. They can wear light armor, magic items with 50 points. I would say kick the Diestro over, what's his name? Over Alonso Diaz de Marajo. Probably much cheaper, and you can probably equip them better too. Now from here we have our heroes, or battle mages, which are hero level wizards, cost 65 points. 35 to level 2. They can take a Barded Warhorse, and they can take magic items worth 50 points. Then our Priestess of Myrmidia, she only costs 70 points. Very cool. May be upgraded light armor to medium armor. Even better for 2 points. Can be mounted on a wall altar of Myrmidia for 100 points. Even better. And it can take 50 points of magical items. This is the GOAT. The GOAT! So definitely take a Priestess of Myrmidia. Put her on an altar if you can afford it as well. And Inquisitors cost 65 points. They can be armored flails for 4 points. Light armor to medium armor, excellent for 2 points. Magical items or Inquisitive powers up to 50 points. The GOAT! The GOAT! So yeah, take Inquisitors as well. Very, very cool. That is really, really neat as well. Definitely dig that. So from there we go to our core choices, or we have our Pikemen, which cost 6 points apiece. Full command is 30 points. May swap pikes for halberds. Does not apply to Venturos. That's free. So cool. You could take halberds if you want, which is kind of nice. The entire unit may be upgraded to Venturos for 1 point apiece to give them better weapon skill as well as initiative. So 1 point's not bad. And a baby form of Tertio with Rodilleros. And your Rodillero costs 7 points. What's kind of nice about these guys, they come with light armor. A lot of armies you look up at this point don't even have any armor at all. So Rodilleros are cost 7 points apiece. They're armed with bucklers, hand weapons, and shields. Hand weapons and light armor, so they can do parry saves. 30 points for full command. So not bad. Having a mix of these guys would be kind of cool. I could see this using like for your core infantry unit, having this being a tertio. Supported by crossbowmen at 9 points apiece. Light armor and crossbows. Let's see here. 30 points for full command. Handgunners, same thing, 9 points apiece. 30 points for full command. Not bad. That means you could take 180 points worth of handgunners and crossbowmen, which would basically be like, what, 20? And then pair them up with your rodellos and your pikemen for your tertio. That would be destructive. That would be very, very destructive. That'd be actually kind of cool. Then our core units consist of caballeros, which cost 17 points per miniature. These guys have hand weapons, spears, and heavy armor. So these are the heavy cavalry guys we were talking about earlier. They can take a magic spear at stand up to 25 points. They cost 30 points for full command. And they can take any of the following: lances for a point, pistols for 2 points, and shields for 2 points. So a fully kitted out guy would be 21 points apiece. Not bad, considering they can charge the lances and use pistols in close combat to give them strength for attacks. That is very cool. Genitors, which are our light cavalry guys, they have hand weapons, javelins, light armor, and shield. They're fast cav. 30 points for full command. Maybe armor spears for a point apiece. I would say maybe give them the spears so they can charge if they need to, if you want to make them like a flanker, for example. But that javelin is kind of nice. Like I said, a lot of shooting elements in this army. Then we have our almogavars, which are the skirmishers. They come with javelins and hand weapons. Upgraded for full command for 30 points. Entire unit may be armor shields for 1 point apiece. May take light armor as well. So I have a 5-up armor save with javelins. 6 points apiece. Unit of 10 costs 60. Might be worth it just to take it to cover your guys' handgunners and your crossbowmen from being charged. War dogs cost 5 points apiece. The entire unit may wear light armor for 1 point per model. Skip the armor. But 35 points for 5? That's not... Oh. No, war dogs do not count towards the minimum percentage of core units in your army. That makes sense. I can see that. But that's not bad. What is that? 25 points for a Vanguard chaff unit? You can get a bunch of those and just pop fanatics and march block and all kinds of cool stuff. Very worth the points. I can see why they don't count for your core requirements though, because that's just too good, but still pretty cool. I dig it. I dig it. There are special units. We have our Marines that cost 6 points apiece. They come with 2 hand weapons. Full command is 30 points. You can swap 1 hand weapon for a pistol for 2. Pretty nice. It makes them 8 points apiece. Maybe armed with light armor for 1 point apiece. I say skip the armor, take the pistol, take them in a huge formation, have them pop up on an enemy flank or behind the rear, and then shoot your opponents to death. That'd be kind of cool. Royal Guard, which are those musketeer characters. They come with hand weapon, muskets, and medium armor. So they come with 5-up armor for 15 points. Not bad. The captain can take a brace of pistols for free. Even better. 30 points for full command. A unit of Royal Guards with Spanner Bearer may take magic standard with 50 points. Very, very cool. Not bad at all. Now, Conquistadors. These guys can be made into core units if you take Francisco Cortez. They cost 25 points per miniature. They come with hand weapon, pistol, handgun, as well as medium armors. They come with guns, and they also have tactical supremacy and fusillade as well. The Conquistador captain and musician stand bearer 30 points apiece. Take 50 magic points worth of magical standard. Not bad, especially if you can make them in core as well. Very, very cool. Grenadiers cost 12 points apiece. They have hand weapons, grenades, and light armor. They may be armed with pistols for 2 points. I say take the pistols. Maybe a radiant armor for 1 point apiece. I say take the medium armor as well. So that gives them what? That costs what? 15 points per guy, 150 points for 10. Not bad considering they're skirmishers and they can blow stuff up and shoot at you as well. And with a 5-up armor save, you really can't complain about that. Kind of nice seeing all the armor saves on these guys, as well as gunpowder weapons. Then we have Knights of the Righteous Spears, Blazing Sun. They cost 25 points apiece. Lances, full plate armor, shield and boarding, hand weapons. They have that 1-up armor save. They have tactical supremacy and righteous charge or blinding light, depending which one you take. The entire full command costs 30 points. Standard bearer up to magical standard up to 50 points. 1 unit of knights of each order may be upgraded to inner circle knights at 3 points per. They count as rare choices, give them strength 4. So that's kind of nice, but I would suggest not taking inner circle just because they have lances. So if they're not being charged, if you're not charging, you're doing something wrong as well. The only problem is if you get tar pitted down, that 4-up strength is kind of nice in close combat. I would say it kind of depends on your situation there. Then we have the Sisters of Fury. They cost 10 points apiece. Spear, heavy armor, and shields. They have 4-up armor saves. Yep, 4-up armor. No, 3-up armor saves with that. So very, very cool. 30 points for full command. It can take a magical standard worth 50 points as well. You give them like the razor standard, these guys will be popping your enemies with armor piercing spear attacks. Very, very cool there. Then we have mountain bandits. Those guys are skirmishing, scouting bowmen. They have hand weapons and bows. Bandit leader may be upgraded for 10 points. I say skip that. 8 points apiece. So let's say you take 5. That makes what, 40 points. Take 10 for 80 points. Perfect war machine hunters. Have them go after enemy war machines and have them destroy them all day. Now our mountain cannon guns, which are not less powerful cannons, cost 50 points apiece. Max amount the amount you can take of these, because that is awesome for 50 points. I say take as many as you possibly can and duplicate them. Black Watch for our rare units costs 14 points per miniature. They have full plate armor and halberds, so very cool there. Upgrade to Watch Captain, Musician, Standard Bearer for 30 points there. You could take a magical stand up to 75 points. I say slap the the banner Myrmidion on these guys to make you a really powerful center for your army. Very, very cool. Immunity to fear and terror. Cannot underestimate how powerful that is. Our great cannons is our Culverin, costs 85 points. Take as many as you can of those, because that is awesome. And Fire Bulls cost 12 points per model. The unit consists of 2 herders and anywhere between 5 to 30 bulls. Oh my god, 30 of these things. Can you imagine 30 strength 5 flaming attack hits? That's going to destroy anything that you send that up against. Maximize as many fire bulls as you can, because that just sounds amazing. And that pretty much makes up the army list for Estalia on this one. Alright, so now we've come to the conclusion, our overall conclusion of this product. Once again, another beautiful publication made by Matthias Eliasson. The artwork's amazing, the professionalism on the desktop publishing is awesome, the rules are really great, the army lists are awesome as well. This is a fantastic product, and plus you cannot beat the price, which is free. You can never be free, which is awesome as well. And to be perfectly honest, if I was to actually make another army for my channel, I think you'd make it Estalians. The rules in this is really, really cool. They got really good armor saves, they got a lot of powerful shooting attacks with black powder weapons, good close combat as well, interesting special characters and magic systems. This would be an army I would actually make. If I was to actually make any army from the new rules I've seen so far, the unofficial rules, this would probably be a contender for the best. I was originally going to use Araby originally, but now I'm thinking about it, I think Estalia would be the way for me to go actually. It's actually very, very cool. I like the game mechanics for the entire thing. It is pretty awesome as well. So with that being said, I say it's an automatic get, especially since it's free to download as well. And the nice part about this, finding miniatures to source this would not be all that difficult. You have a lot of historical miniature war games that are out there that you could choose from to fill these guys with, and they're also pretty inexpensive as well. Pike and Shot by Warlord Games would be perfect for this, especially to build your tertios, for example. That would be really, really cool. You could also use Perry miniatures as well from the War of the Roses stuff that they have out there. They also have quite a bit of miniatures you can get from that for really low prices as well. Just a lot of cool things. There's no real weird monsters or stuff that you gotta worry about, and the monsters that you do have to worry about purchasing from, you can get those from like Reaper Minis, and the Bones line, it'll cost anywhere between $3 to $5 in some cases, so that's very, very economic as well. So very, very cool. I really like this army and I really dig it. In fact, I actually might be tempted to actually try to get this army. But anyways, that's good to do it for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.